In the aftermath of recent discussions between United States President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, the possibility of peace in Ukraine appears closer than it has in years. Still, for the conflict to truly come to an end, Ukraine requires strong security guarantees for the future, and the United States now seems ready to provide them. Trump has even proposed that America could offer full air support, effectively transforming Ukrainian skies into a no-fly zone that would block any Russian aircraft, drones, or bombers from entering Ukrainian airspace. This is precisely the kind of security assurance Kyiv has long sought, and it may be enough to push President Volodymyr Zelensky toward finally accepting a peace agreement. On August 18th, during a meeting with Zelensky, Trump confirmed that the United States would play a role in post-war peacekeeping. When questioned about whether this would mean placing American troops on Ukrainian soil, he clarified that European nations would serve as the first line of defense, but stressed that the United States would still contribute to Ukraine's security against future aggression. Later that same day, Zelensky was asked if he needed guarantees involving US troops, intelligence, or equipment in order to strike a deal with Russia, and his answer hinted that such support could indeed be decisive. By the evening, European and NATO leaders praised Trump's initiative, with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte emphasizing once more the value of US security commitments. Russia, however, quickly rejected any arrangement that might involve foreign troops in Ukraine. Its foreign ministry declared firmly that such a proposal was unacceptable. On August 19th, Trump clarified in an interview with Fox and Friends what form of protection America might provide. He once again stated that while American troops would not be placed on Ukrainian soil, Europe could be responsible for boots on the ground. Most intriguingly, Trump mentioned the prospect of air support, though he did not elaborate. Analysts worldwide immediately began speculating about what this could mean in practice. Some experts have suggested that American fighter jets could join peacekeeping operations, and when pressed, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt did not dismiss the idea. Should US aircraft become involved, Ukraine's skies could become a genuine no-fly zone, effectively barring hostile planes from Russia or its allies, such as Belarus. The concept of a no-fly zone is not new. President Zelensky pleaded for one just days after the invasion in February 2022, urging NATO to shut down the sky over Ukraine to save lives. His appeals were rejected at the time by Washington and NATO, who feared escalation into a full-scale war with Russia. NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg stated then that while the desperation of Ukraine was understood, enforcing a no-fly zone risked sparking a continental war in Europe. Only the Baltic nations, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, voted in favor of a no-fly zone during those early days. Most other governments deemed it too risky, since it could have forced NATO pilots to shoot down Russian aircraft, potentially unleashing a much larger war. Yet years later, as the war drags on with enormous loss of life, conditions have shifted. While America would not impose a no-fly zone during active war, it might be far more willing to do so during peacetime as part of a peace enforcement or air policing mission. Drawing on its unmatched fleet and intelligence capabilities, the US could patrol Ukraine's skies, much as it has done for decades over the Baltic states and Poland. The United Kingdom has already signaled interest in such operations. Earlier this year, a senior British official said London would be willing to deploy Typhoon jets for an air policing mission over Ukraine. Still, such an endeavor would be a monumental task. Ukraine spans over 603,000 square kilometers, with a border stretching some 2,300 kilometers, much of it with Russia. Continuous monitoring would demand immense resources, coordination, and rules of engagement to prevent dangerous incidents. As retired Royal Air Force Air Marshal Greg Bagwell explained, peacekeeping is about establishing clear boundaries and rules, ensuring one side, Russia, stays out. Even then, the risk of escalation would remain. A single violation could ignite a crisis, yet this may be one of the only ways to make a peace deal truly viable. America's role could range from non-kinetic surveillance assets like AWACS radar planes and reconnaissance aircraft to full-fledged deployment of fighter jets. Additional NATO aircraft and air defense systems would provide deterrence, making Russian incursions far less likely. However, before any such mission can begin, peace itself must be secured. Despite the optimism, Russia continues to resist concessions, launching deadly strikes on Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Sumy, and Odessa even as talks unfold. On August 19th, Zelensky condemned these attacks, noting that Moscow deliberately targeted civilians and children. At least 7 people were killed in Kharkiv alone, including an infant girl of only 18 months, in strikes timed to coincide with the Washington peace talks. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has downplayed prospects for immediate peace, saying talks must begin step by step, a classic Kremlin tactic of delay and obfuscation. Still, US officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, expressed cautious hope that a meeting between Trump, Putin, and Zelensky could pave the way toward an agreement. Rubio highlighted that for any negotiation to succeed, Ukraine must feel genuinely secure from future invasions. Trump echoed this view, insisting the Alaska summit gave him confidence that peace is within reach. He even suggested Putin had agreed, in principle, to accept security guarantees for Ukraine. Trump told Zelensky that he believed something workable could be achieved between Kyiv and Moscow. He stressed that this decision would ultimately rest with the Ukrainian people and their president, but voiced optimism that good things could come from the upcoming talks. While challenges remain, the momentum toward peace appears stronger than before. And one thing is clear: should peace be established, the United States and its NATO allies are prepared to defend Ukraine and ensure such a catastrophe never happens again. Whether through soldiers on the ground or jets in the air, NATO will stand ready.